Welcome to this episode of the Pharmacy Technology and Management Review podcast. This is PTM Review Editor Will Lockwood, and today my guest is Frier Levitt partner Jesse Dresser. He's an expert on the legal and regulatory landscape of pharmacy, and we're going to be talking about what to expect in that area for 2025 and beyond. Jesse's head of the pharmacy practice group at Frier Levitt. He has extensive background in the complex interplay between pharmacies, pharmacy benefit managers, otherwise known as PBMs, and other healthcare entities. We're going to cover two topics primarily and maybe get into anything else that we can if we have some extra time. First topic will be PBM reform, and the second will be issues around compounding. So, with that being said, let's get started. Jesse, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Our pleasure. We appreciate the expertise you bring to these topics. Is there anything you wanted to add about your background or your interest in pharmacy and pharmacy law?
Yeah, the only thing that I'll mention is I've been at this for quite some time. And for today's discussion, particularly talking about reform, this is something that we wouldn't have seen or been talking about when I first started, or even well within my practice in this space, representing pharmacies and pharmacy providers and issues with PBMs. It's only been a relatively recent issue where we've started to see lawmakers, regulators, policymakers focus on some of the activities of PBMs and their relationship with pharmacies. You go back 5 years, you could have a hour-long meeting with a policymaker or a legislative aide, a lawmaker, a judge even, describing the issues of PBMs, describing the abuses that they can wrought on pharmacies. And their first question that would be asked is, what's a PMB? Because people did not know what these companies were or what they did and what really their role was within society. These are Fortune 5 companies that if you ask anyone on the street, they're not really going to know who they are or what they do. So just even the fact that we're talking about PBM reform efforts is something that in my practice is only a relatively recent phenomenon, because for a long time, it just had been an overlooked area that only wonks and nerds like me that were steeped in this would really have an idea of what was going on.
Yeah, you make a really good point there, and I have to agree with you 100% there that it's an area of healthcare where I think the companies very much, for the most part, from most people's perspective, operate behind the scenes. I suppose you could argue that for them this is something of an advantage given the business model. Thankfully, I think pharmacy has done a really great job recently over the past couple of years of educating and advocating and demonstrating to lawmakers and to the public what pharmacy sees as the situation here, and the impact PBMs have on pharmacies and on the patients that they serve. So yeah, it's been reassuring, I think, from my perspective anyway, and I think from the perspective of a lot of the readers of PTM Review, that there's been real progress made recently and that there's the potential for real action in 2025. So let me get your take on that. What do you think we're looking at in 2025? What's likely to happen when it comes to PBM reform?
Yeah. So